This patch has probably been the biggest shift in the meta since Monolith has been released. Yes, it's not out yet. We can't really confirm this, but from the looks of things, this looks like the biggest shift in the meta since Monolith has came out. The hero updates are looking fantastic. They've reworked a whole bunch of things. Oh, it looks great. But what does it actually mean? Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a patch note review video. I am Sylphin with the hero updates, looking at all the hero reworks and tweaks and stuff that we knew were coming and some that we definitely didn't know that were coming. So Fey's here, she's looking really fantastic. You guys can take a look at her video that I did yesterday or the day before, whenever this video is coming out. My main question is whether this boost is a flat amount or if it's relative. Like, is it 100% extra? Because then if you build health regen, it's gonna be crazy. Exactly what that is. I think it's just gonna be a flat amount, but we have yet to confirm. So we have, first up here is Aurora. Kyrosism corrected an issue which would cause Kyrosism to deal unintended additional damage. That's pretty big. Yeah. You know, so there it is. That's good. Fang Mao. Big change. Reaping Dash. Damage bonus increased to 35, 70, 105, 140 from only 10, 25, 40, and 55. But can no longer crit. It cannot crit, so this is trying to kind of compensate for that. What I think they're trying to do here is de-emphasize his crit, kind of his damage potential, and instead go for maybe his more bursty and tankiness. Shields have gotten basically anywhere from an 8 to 30% buff. Basically, they're basically 8 to 30% stronger because now armor is affected and armor is applied onto them. So I think he is now kind of a bursty damage dealer slash tank, just straight up, pretty much just tank really. He gets a fair amount of health. He's not the most amount of health out of all the fighters, but this is huge. So, I mean, you know, before, you know, 100%, then 155%, and then that would 155% would then crit. So times 2.5. So 155 times 2.5 is like 375% extra damage, like just ridiculous. Whereas now this is just flat 140. There's no way that it can crit. So this is potential damage decrease if you went with a lot of crit on your Fang Mao. But in general, I would definitely say obviously a huge buff, especially if you're just going power, a little bit of attack speed, something like that, to get a nice bursty, tanky Fang Mao. So really interesting to see that. I think he's been pigeonholed into more so of a tank, frontline, bruiser, bursty hero. So we got Gadget here up next. Speed gate, movement speed increased to 200 from 125, but now decays over the effect duration. So you're still going to, you know, get a large amount right off the bat, which I think is a little bit good. It's better. I think maybe speed gate needs a little bit help there, but then it decays. So I have yet to kind of try this out on her and kind of come up against it, but I think that's fine. I think that's fair. She needs a little bit of help in the speed gate department, maybe, but we'll see how that goes. Greystone totally reworked his Stoic, which is now called Deflect, because, well, it deflects things. Straight up just deflects things. It has been totally reworked. Every 795 or 3 seconds, depending on the level, it will block 100% of the damage from the next basic attack damage instance that hits him. No longer provides bonus health and armor. So straight up, just completely ignores the next basic damage instance every 9, 7, 5, or 3 seconds. So in the early game, that's going to be huge. You are going to be able to just kind of ignore one shot when you kind of go in there to get a last hit. Then just back up. Wait, go back in, get a last hit, back up. Super easy, really nice for him there. In the late game, 100% of the damage from the next damage instance, basic damage instant, Oh, man. He is now the bane of a carry's life. 100%. Every 3 seconds going to ignore, what, 500 damage? There's no way that that potential is a nerf from before. There's no way that that extra health and basic armor would equal the potential of this. That it's absolutely insane. Yes. A caster can constantly hit a Greystone to make sure that his deflect is being used on the on the support's basic attack. But as long as Greystone, I think, gets mitigates one of the carry's basic attack, I think he's going to be at the same level of tankiness, the same level of sustain as he was before. That's what my math gut is telling me. At least as long as he can get one, as long as he can mitigate one of the carry's basic attacks, maybe not a Twin Blast basic attack, it's going to be something else. That has huge potential to 1v1 a carry and just be a monster with some crit stone. Oh man, awesome! Really like that. Really, that's it. It's going to be interesting to see how that really works out. Iggy and Scorch kind of reveals one of the new mechanics, the new ways of design that Epic is doing. This flame turret now has 200 to 650 health instead of pips. So turrets take 60% reduced ability damage. Well, this is interesting because what this does is in the late game, it's going to take forever for anybody but, you know, the carry to take down the turret. But this therefore makes, if those turrets are really a nuisance, the carry has to take care of them. Yeah, they maybe two-shot it, or maybe even one-shot it if it's a crazy build, but that's 2 shots that aren't going on a target. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of like that. It just shifts who has to take down the turret, right? So I kind of like it. And of course, 60% reduced ability damage, so that one ability doesn't just take it out, which kind of would reduce the whole purpose of making it instead of pips. So I kind of like it. Going to have to see how that makes Iggy and Scorch's viability here in the early game. It's still going to be 4 or 5 shots anyways, but in the late game, it's gonna be interesting. Bellica, I'm really glad she's had a nerf. I think this is a nerf anyways, because she's way too prevalent. God, please. Base damage reduced to 30, 50, 70, 90 from 60, 80, 100, 120. All, like, half. 50% nerf in the early game to a 30% nerf. I like that just because of the whole bursty meta, ability focused nature. I like that a lot. I like it. Power scaling reduced. This is even bigger to 0.376. So I like that. Now it's 200 to 725 health instead of pips. That is going to help out the drone, I think. To be honest with you. Well, in most scenarios where it's not the carry attacking it. If it is the carry though, again, same thing. Really, if it has to be taken down, the carry can easily do it. But then those are shots that aren't going on, the, you know, a target. So interesting. Kallari! Woohoo! Kallari! Man, she's been reworked. She looks so good. Crippling Dagger has been moved to right mouse button, is now quick cast ability just to help with its usability. That makes much more sense to me, to be honest with you. That makes much more sense to me. Base damage increased by about a little bit in the early game, just a little bit. But that level 2 is absolutely huge to get those last hits. Absolutely huge. Those long range last hits in the off lane, really like it. In the late game, almost it is a 50% increased. So being a part of her rotation, it's a bigger part for sure of her rotation. Hopefully increases her viability in today's meta. Backflip has been removed because it's now a part of her new ability, Shadow Dance. There's a passive component, provides bonus health regen while Kallari is in the shadow plane. 3, 6, 9, 12 health regen. 3 in the early game. as a straight up health token. Yes, only, well, more so than a health token. Only, yes, only when she's in the shadow plane, which isn't very long at level 1, but still, it's going to help out a little bit. And 12 in the late game. So, I mean, you can stay in the shadow plane for like 20 seconds times this. That's a lot of health, 300 or so, which, I mean, when you're not building health on Kallari or health regen, that's going to be a big part. It's going to really, really help her kind of top herself up or get herself to 50%, 75% health when she kind of goes in. It also allows Kallari to jump up to 2 additional times after jumping. So it's a triple jump, and this is the space bar or the X key. So you can jump. And then you can jump 2 additional times after that with no mana. There's no mana for the triple jump. So she always felt clumsy in her mana. She kind of felt clumsy, like she should have more of it or just less, less use of it, stuff like that. So I like that. I don't know. I think maybe it just kind of, it's now a part of her. And I really like that. Cooldown and triple down reduced to 14 from 18 in the early game to 8 to 9. So in the early game, do it a little bit more often, which is good. It's going to help her kind of be a little bit more aggressive, try a little bit more things. In the late game, just shave off a second just to help her out. So really like it. I really like it. Provide her with some sustain so she can just be there. She needs CXP. She needs it. This will really help her out. Shadow Walk now automatically activates when Kallari drops below 35% health. The plays that this is going to do is going to be insane. Absolutely insane, because you're going to be able to, use Shadow Walk, get up to the enemy. You can trade with them. You can trade with them if you want, or not. You can just totally trade with them. 35% health, double jump out of there, kind of go around, get back in there, can boom, 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 triple jump out, then reuse Shadow Walk because it's not on cooldown because you got a free one. Oh man, the play is going to be absolutely crazy, but the effect can only trigger once every 60 seconds, so you can't really rely on it too much, right, to get that free the free Shadow Walk. Only triggers if the damage dealt comes from any heroes. So if you're fighting around a minion wave, be careful. Be careful. Because it might not happen if you're counting on it. Death Sentence added a 250 slow while Kallari is channeling Death Sentence to her intended victim. So when you activate the ability, she gains vision of everybody and she's still running around. And then when you actually lock on a target and then select it, she kind of hovers in the air, and then so while she's kind of doing the animation and then she teleports, that slow is applied. Should help her line up more because for some reason it's a basic attack when she lands and she can miss it or something, but it's not. It's like 300 damage. I don't know. Just to help her line up more so that that next basic attack after your ult and your dagger and stuff is a little bit easier to use. Kallari, man, she's looking awesome. With phase though and all these other hero changes, I think maybe she's going to get a little bit less prevalence, a little bit less use than maybe we were thinking. So I love this. I love it, love it, love it. She's always been a really interesting hero to me. It's one that I've wanted to play a lot, but she just had been really, really pretty much irrelevant past little while. So I like that. Morigesh, they have been tweaking her down, and I agree with this. Her tankiness has been reduced. Her base ability armor is now the same as, well, not the same, but it's 20 from 21.4, and her ability armor per level has been reduced just a bit. So I like this. She's really strong still, and I feel like while yes, she's like a positional based hero that is easy. Remember, she's easy to play and she's positional. So as long as you can get in the right position, she's easy. You just do her thing and she's easy. She's an easy hero. But there still isn't a good enough trade-off. She's still too tanky, still too survivable. And this, I like it. I like it. She needs to be reduced in her survivability so that, the trade-off is there. I like it. Muriel, remember, she basically has had a anywhere from an 8 to 30% buff to her shield. So that is absolutely huge for Muriel. It's big. It's really big. And her alacrity has even been buffed more. Look at this. Look at the movement speed. 150 up to 225. Like, it's been tripled in its effectiveness, quadrupled, quintupled in its effective. Like, this is just crazy. This is what it should have been for the longest time. That's what I felt like it should have been. It's not only is it a skill shot, but it also like it. If I'd land this ability from afar, which pretty good at it, you know, it takes skill. You should be rewarded, and this, my God. That is good. I love it. But it decays over the 2-second duration. How much it decays, to what point does it decay? It's really not clear. Doesn't seem like it decays that much, to be honest with you. So, at least from the videos and stuff that we've seen decays for other abilities, doesn't seem that much, but huge buff. Loving this for Muriel. Muriel, Kallari, baby. Ooh, I love it. Murdock. This has been a little bit of point of contention, a little bit of controversy, but I'll explain something that maybe helps you guys understand. So move along. His little pushback has been removed. Static trap has been removed because he's now a pursuit-based hero. He pursues people. He's a cop. He will pursue you and chain you, get the cuffs on you and send you to jail, right? That's his idea, and it really works. He's a cop, man. He's a cop. That's what they do. I like it. Yeah. If you're to pick a design for Murdock, that's great. I love it. That's great. I mean, why would you lay a trap? Well, I guess, yeah, a trap for cop. Yeah, road traps and stuff. That makes sense. But I like it. Anyways, I really like the design. I really like that they've picked a focus for him, and they're going for it. So, buckshot. It has been removed. Reworked. Again, it's going to a little bit to a place that makes more sense. The right mouse button. And enemies damaged by buckshot are pushed if they are within 700 units of Murdock, up to a maximum distance of 700 units away. So basically, his move along has been moved into his buckshot. So it's kind of like it's basically like a shotgun that pushes people back up to 700 units away. The damage range, though, is still 1,000 units, so it's still the same as before, which is really, really, it's good. So he's kind of, he's gotten a buff. This is a buff because he basically still has move along. The static trap he doesn't have, but he has something that I think much better. So new ability called Hot Pursuit is his Q, a primary ability. It's a passive. It's kind of complicated. Just bear with me. Grants an additional 100 to 250 max movement speed when you're running and when you can see visible, critically wounded enemies within 3,000 up to 6,000 unit range. So 3,000 is absolutely gigantic. That's Kallari's dagger. It goes off, it's a long ways away. So 6,000 unit range, basically if you can see them and you can see their health bar, and probably not even if you can see their health bar, you're getting this buff. You're getting this ability. So it's absolutely going to be very, very effective quite often, especially in the jungle. If you see them, it will be in effect, and they're critically wounded. So I love it. You get a fair amount of movement speed. 250, that is significant. That is a significant movement speed for sure. So he'll be able to chase down his targets, stay within range, and just keep firing at them, get into a good position, and just take them out. So I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Combine this with Muriel, with Faze. Oh my goodness. Awesome. Love it, love it, love it. So a new ability, Shots Fire. E secondary ability is it's a really cool mechanic, and I'm glad to see it in the game because I like these kind of mechanics. That it's not an ability, but it is. It's an ability for his basic attack. So basically, it's a passive. It grants Murdock's next basic attack bonus range. They don't say how much, but it's probably 200, 100, maybe. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully it's significant. And also gives him 15, 30, 45, 60 basic penetration every 10, 8, 6, 4 seconds. Ugh. So every 4 seconds in the late game, you're going to have 60 basic penetration on an increased ranged basic attack. If you don't think that's an ability you need to keep in mind, well, you're missing out on a huge potential. This ability you need to consider. You need to consider and keep in your mind, just like any of his other abilities, and probably more so than any of his abilities. He is more dynamic now than he was before, 100%. And I like it. If you miss that shot, though, the cooldown is consumed. If you miss it, it is consumed. So I hope that there's a visual thing, like his gun glows red or like it powers up. Your range indicator, I'm assuming, will move forward if you have that enabled. I hope it's really clear. I hope it's somewhat clear that you have this enhanced basic attack. But I really like it. He is more dynamic now than he has been. And if you think otherwise, like, I don't know how else to convince you. Like, he still has move along. He doesn't have his trap, but he has two other things. He has two other things. So, I mean, I don't know. He has a purpose. He fits a role. He not only has a global... He not only has a global influence as global ultimate, but now he can chase down and solo and 1v1 and kind of secure those kills in team fights and skirmishes. He's really cool. He serves a particular purpose. Really, really, really interesting. Narbash. We move on to Narbash. His March ability has been increased a significant amount. Basically, it's doubled or has been increased by almost 50% in its effectiveness, which it seemed a little slow. But there's a lot of other things that it did as well. Duration has been reduced to 2.5 seconds from 3. Probably just, to kind of help that it's so much more better. And it decays. So it doesn't seem like the decay is overly all that much. Kinda, but especially at that max level, it's gonna be big. It's gonna be big. We're gonna see that. We're gonna have to see what that is. Richter, his shock therapy, his cooldown is now 12 seconds at all levels, so it really helps him out in the early game. If you get a good shock therapy off. At an Aurora that tries to do her charge in and her ultimate, you use that first, and then she tries to use her ultimate, and then you ult her while she's trying to use her ultimate, and then and then she tries to use her ultimate again, then you pull her again to interrupt it, and then and she should be dead by then. But then maybe at that point she tries to use her ultimate again, and then you have another shock therapy, stuff like that. Be really, really interesting. Just kind of thing. We'll have to see. Richter's my man, so that should help there in that early game. Now Shinbi, she has been changed. This has been intuitive for me, and I was kind of weirded out that this wasn't in. Shinbi can now move while casting all kill. I didn't see a reason why she shouldn't, being such a mobility-focused caster. Like, she's just constantly running around, dashing around, and then she has to stop and use her ultimate. Yeah, maybe that's a trade-off, but I don't know. It seemed like she could just keep moving and just boop, all kill, and there you go. And the wolf stack duration has been increased to 10 seconds from 7 seconds. Try to increase her viability just because she is not meta. Rushing Beat. Shinbi will no longer lose the ability to recast Rushing Beat after being stunned or silenced. So I'm not too sure what this means, because as long as you use it, maybe this is like when you actually push Rushing Beat, and then before the first damage instance happens, so like in that first half second, if she's stunned or silenced, she will be able to use it again. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole philosophical debate about that it should or shouldn't go on silenced. I think the end point of that discussion is that having it not going on stunned or silenced increases complexity of play. Increases the complexity of play. And basically you can argue till you prove that point, and I'm not going to do that here. Just trust me, this increases the complexity of play by having that the way it is. Line tempo, projectile speed increased. It wasn't overly hard to land, but maybe, yeah, I guess that feels a little, that feels a little bit more intuitive, perhaps. So I like that. Steel, he's been reworked. I'm so excited for this because I like Steel. I like Steel. But this is really interesting. This is really interesting. Force Shield has just straight up been removed because Bulwark has been reworked. Steel now deploys a smaller attached Force Shield that has an extension of his shield while channeling Bulwark. The duration has been increased to 4, 5, 6, 7 from 4 seconds at all levels. So when you increase it, you can hold that shield out for longer. You can just sit there and just take that damage. But what I think happens is that his shield that he's now always carrying, apparently, now just it expands to a bigger one, or deploys a smaller attached force shield on it. I think his shield just expands so that people can, you can block. I think what's going to happen is they've just made the force shield animation happen on his Bulwark. I think, I don't know. We haven't seen what it looks like, so we don't know. But I think that's what it's going to be. So basically, he's just going to have this, and people can hide behind him much easier now. But since his force shield has been removed, he'll now get a new ability, a Blade of Armor, and this looks really good. Passive grants Steel 4 stacks of 50, 65, 80, 95 ability armor for a total of 200 all the way up to 380 ability armor. Oh my goodness, that is insane. So just some quick math here, guys. 380 ability armor is going 480 is 100 divided by 480. Oh my goodness. So if you attack Steel when he has full with his full of Blade of Armor stacks, you're gonna deal 20%, 21% of the damage. So if you are normally, like if you're a Gideon and you land a Cosmic Rift that normally does 700 damage, it now does 140. Isn't that insane? That is insane, just incredible. So I mean, you got to be careful with what abilities you use on Steel, because depending on what his stacks are at, you might just completely waste an ability. Absolutely just completely waste an ability. Taking ability damage removes one stack. So if you're somebody like Shinbi, Shinbi is going to be a great counter kind of well, if you're going to be one of the best casters to use against Steel, because she will at least be able to use her rushing beat, wear down those stacks so that her line tempos will actually deal good damage. Then then she can use her all kill, and all of those are just going to pierce right through that. So great a counter to Steel. Morigesh is going to be a good counter. The Fey coming up here, stuff like that. A lot of those ones I could use a lot of things on, a lot of abilities all the time. Going to be really cool. So Shinbi, probably my pick, just because she can like dash out of his stuff like that. So it'll just be really interesting. Steel gains 1 stack every 6, 5, 4, 3 seconds. This timer is reset whenever he takes new instances of ability damage. So for instance, if you get just pounded by abilities, you're not 3 seconds from the first ability, you're not going to be able to get a stack. 3 seconds from the last ability, and this huge barrage is going to happen. So if you're just consistently being hit by abilities, you're not going to be able to regenerate your stacks. So you're going to really have to get out of combat, at least from abilities, in order to regenerate those stacks. Very interesting. Really, it's a new mechanic. They're adding in a whole bunch of mechanics here for these heroes. I love it. Love it. Here is the Fey for Harvest Nettles. She is a harass hero. She's a fantastic harass hero, but her Harvest Nettles, the most harass of all of her kit, didn't really do much. In the early game, if your offlaner or if your lane opponents didn't get health regen, yes, her Harvest Nettles were great. If they did, it was kind of moot. Now, consecutive hits on the same target with her Harvest Nettles within 9 seconds deal an additional 15% damage per hit, stacking up to a maximum of 60% bonus damage per hit. So, guys, she is going to hurt. If you're going up against a Master Fey and you don't have sustain, oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. You know, she's going to hurt. She's going to hurt a ton. So that's a really good, rewarding, high-skilled play, and I love it. So, I mean, her Harvest Nettles is on a 5-second cooldown, so she has the next attack. She has the next attack to stack it. She won't be able to, you know, hit you with one, miss with the next, and then hit you with one. She won't be able to. So as long as you can consistently hit a target, well, and this is without cooldown reduction. So if you have cooldown reduction, you might be able to get down the cooldown on Harvest Nettles. But anyways, very, very interesting. And Yin, super meta. I'm glad to see her nerfed. Really strong. Lash kick range reduced to 750. It did seem a little bit far. I wanted it to be a little bit more than it was before this buff. Hopefully this is more than what it used to be before this buff. It did seem a little long. I don't know. It did seem maybe a little bit long. Wind burn, mana cost increased to 40 from 20. It doubled in mana cost. Yes, you're still going to be able to use it a lot, but definitely not a ton as now. So you're gonna have to, you know, maybe pick and choose when you use your wind burn. Just a little wee more. Cooldown has been increased to 21, 18, 15, and 12 from 20, 15, 12, and 8. So in the early game, not too much of a change, but in the late game, it's 50% longer of a cooldown. I like that just because you could freaking use it all the time. Now you gotta really choose. Right? You're going to have to choose in that team fight when to use it right at the start, and then maybe, you know, at some other relevant point. Whereas before, you could just keep spamming it. So I like that. She was super meta. Glad to see her maybe get put back in her place just a little bit. There are all the changes. Murdock, love to see that. Steel been reworked. Hopefully that makes him more meta. Hopefully this makes Murdock a nice choice in some team compositions. Kallari has been reworked. I'm going to love playing her with her fantastic skin. Greystone, that deflect is going to be really situational, but also very, very powerful. Oh, man. Bellica. Hopefully this kind of helps reduce her viability. Her stun is a little bit ridiculous, and her bomb is a little bit ridiculous, but she's a good damage dealer, so I guess that's fine. And Phase, oh, man. Oh, man. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all this, because, oh, boy. Woo! I'm excited. Please like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it, share it with the community, guys, and of course, subscribe. You guys like this content, especially if you found it useful. I would love to be able to do it for you in the future as well. So until next time, like always, ladies and gentlemen, stay optimistic and positive.